Okay, so let's start it. Okay, so we are on 110B.4 non-oxidative color products. So let me share this screen with you. We'll explain more about what non-oxidative color products mean, because this is another one of the categories of color products that we can use. So non-oxidative color includes temporary, semi-permanent hair colors and like vegetable chemical or vegetable metallic and compound dyes. Basically what these means when you hear the word non-oxidative is no developer. Okay, these types of colors use no developer. They're usually used straight out of the bottle, and underneath the category of non-oxidative colors, there are different types of non-oxidative colors. And that's what we're going to go over today, are the different ones. When you actually come in on Thursday, we're going to play with some of these colors on some swatches. So they have different characteristics, and there are, a lot of different types of colors that fall on this line. So that's what we're going to go under. So some of the things that you have to remember about this is that these non-oxidative color products, they will not lighten color. They will not lighten hair. Okay. Now they may give the illusion that the hair may be a little bit lighter. An example of that might be like if you're using a red gold versus just a straight gold, because gold is, yellow is a little bit lighter than red. So it might look like it's a little bit lighter, but it really is not going to lighten hair at all with these. Okay. So what these non-oxidative colors will do is they're going to darken. They're going to use shine, and you can add tones to it. So what that means by adding tones is you can make it look like a red brown or a golden brown, adding the tone to it, or you can neutralize unwanted tones. So if your hair is looking a little too gold, you could cut that out and make it look more of a brown. I'm sure you've probably seen people when they're outside and the sun hits their hair and it looks like it's got like a purple tint to it, but when they're inside, you don't really see that purple color. That would be a semi-permanent to add a tone to it. Okay, and then it can neutralize the unwanted tone. So if your hair's lightened and it looks too brassy, you can use this to kind of help cut that brass out and make it look prettier. It adds pigment, right? Pigment's the color. So it adds pigment, but it will not lighten existing hair color. You don't mix it with any type of developer or an oxidant, and you use it directly out of the bottle. Sometimes people put it in a bowl, but it's just used like it comes in the package. Nothing is mixed with it. Okay. So underneath these, or another thing that happens with this also when we talk about chemistry, when we're using these non-oxidative colors, is it creates a physical change to the hair, not a chemical change. Okay, it deposits color that washes out. So all of these non-oxidative colors are supposed to eventually shampoo out of the hair. Now that's going to depend on the porosity of the hair, because if the hair is extremely porous, then it's going to penetrate into that cortex and it could stain it a little bit. So it would last a little bit longer. So like we said, we have temporary colors and we have semi-permanent hair colors. The benefit to these is that they're appealing to a lot of clients who don't want to put a lot of chemicals on their hair, or they don't want to do that permanent chemical change, right? This is someone who wants who doesn't want a long-term commitment to hair color. They're very subtle changes, and they're only going to enhance the color that the person has. So this is good for some of these gray blendings also, because it just enhances that color. So the first category under non-oxidative that we're going to look at is a temporary hair color. Okay, temporary hair colors are known as weekly rinses, or they come in weekly rinses. They come in color mousses and gels, color chalks, crayons, mascaras, pomades, spray-on colors, and then in shampoos and conditioners. So what these things do is they create that physical change. They're only temporary. Now here's the thing about temporary. It's only supposed to last shampoo to shampoo. So what you do is you shampoo the hair, you towel dry it really well, you put the color on, and then you do not rinse it out. You just go ahead and dry and do the hair as the client wants. What happens is they have a really large color molecule, and this color molecule sits on the outside surface of the hair strand. So if you remember your hair strand, your cuticle layer is on the outside, right? Those are the scales that are supposed to like be smoothed down and open and close with water and chemicals, right? The inside is the cortex where everything alive is happening. And then inside of that is your medulla that not everybody has. So what we have with the cuticle layer is if your cuticle layer is intact, because sometimes when hair is damaged, the cuticle layer is missing, or the cuticle layer is open wider in some areas than the other, and that causes the uneven porosity. But what's supposed to happen is these large molecules of these temporary colors are supposed to sit on the outside of that cuticle layer. They're too small to penetrate into the cortex. So that's why they're supposed to last shampoo to shampoo. Like I said before, if your porosity is uneven, if your cuticle layer is missing, it can actually stain that hair. So it can actually travel into the cortex just a little bit, and it's going to make that color last a little bit longer. Chalks, I think, are about the only thing that's applied to, well, chalks, crayons, and mascaras usually are applied to dry hair. The rest of them can be wet or dry. The weekly rinses are dry hair for sure. Okay, so these don't have any of the aniline derivative in it, so they don't require a PD test. Pretty sure that's a test question too. Don't have any reactive dyes. There's no direct dyes. So you don't need a chemical reaction for the color to develop. What you see is what you get. Okay, so one of the things that you have to remember about these temporary colors is that, the lighter the hair, the brighter it's going to be. The darker the hair, the less you're going to probably notice it. So, they're very, very subtle changes. There's no lightning, there's no chemical change, there's nothing that happens to that hair, and they're supposed to wash out. So going back to these color rinses, these weekly rinses, let's see, the next slide talks about it. No. Okay, so we're going to go back to these weekly rinses. What we have with these weekly rinses is like when I was in beauty college, these women were getting their hair shampooed and done, once a week. So as they started to get gray, or just to brighten up their own color, they wanted to not really color their hair, but just to sort of like blend that out and make it not so noticeable, or to enhance the color that they have. So we have these little things that came in a bottle. They're made by a company called Rue. I'll show you on Thursday when we get here. What they did was we shook them up, put them in like a little applicator bottle, took them back to the shampoo bowl, shampooed their hair, towel dried it really well, squirted this stuff on all over, rubbed it in really good, and then went back and like rolled their hair up on rollers and set them and put them underneath the dryer. And then it lasted until they got their hair shampooed again. It was generally applied at the shampoo bowl. It was used to add tone to faded hair or to help kind of blend some of the gray out, neutralize the unwanted tones. It temporarily added color to their hair. Now, what ended up happening as the person ended up getting grayer and grayer, and they were still putting these rinses on, they would take on the base color of the rinse. So I don't know if you've ever heard the term like the blue-haired ladies or the pink-haired ladies, but that came from these color rinses that they were putting in their hair. They had great names too. They had names like Sable and Frivolous Fawn and White Meeks and all these other, I can't remember it. Those are the popular ones. But those are the ones that people would use just to add, make their hair look more platinum. So it had a violet base, a blue violet base. So what happened when you turned really gray, you ended up kind of having a blue violet color tint to your hair. The Frivolous Fawn was sort of like a beigey color. So it had like a pinkish base to it. So the grayer you got, yeah, it was kind of funny. But with these weekly rinses, again, let's say you wanted to make your hair darker. You buy one a dark color and you can put it in your hair where for, the day or till you shampoo it again. Or you want to make your hair have a red tone, you can do the same thing. Just be careful with the hair if it has existing color, because existing color is always more porous. Well, I used to have my hair really, really blonde, like platinum bleach blonde color. And I put one of these weekly rinses in my hair called Copper Penny. So Copper Penny, you can imagine how orange that was. I was playing a joke on my grandma. I went to her house and she about screamed when I walked in the door, and I go, "Oh, don't worry, it'll wash out." I went to go wash my hair, and because my hair was so porous from being bleached, it didn't wash out. So we were washing my hair with things like Tide, Perel, like really strong detergents. All it did was dry my hair out, didn't take the color out. The only way the color came out of my hair is when I jumped in a pool. And that's the only way it came out. So yeah, I had to, the joke ended up being on me because I ended up having to wear it for, a few days. So, know the hair. You have to know the hair and the condition of the hair when you start working with these temporary colors, if you want them to rinse out from shampoo to shampoo. Little side note about the Sprayon Colors. A lot of times, when kids are in school, they have like crazy hair day, and some people want to spray, the color on their hair. It gets on their scalp, washes out of their hair just fine, but it stays on their scalp for a few days. So just get like a Q-tip and put some like alcohol on it, like some isopropyl alcohol, and just kind of rub that along the scalp, and it helps take that off a little bit better off the scalp. So that's just a little side note to kind of help you out. These color mousses and gels, we've probably all seen these. The mousse has color in it. Gels like those ice spikers, the gels have color to kind of make your hair green or blue or whatever color you want. My son used to use this when he was in middle school. He had one in every color, ice spiker gel. It kind of was a little dramatic, but that was cool for what they wanted. Plus they help in styling. The chalks, crayons, and mascaras, like we said, they come in a lot of different colors. They're just for fun. Usually they're just like fun stuff. They're not going to help with gray, or, well, they could help with gray, but usually the colors are more like fun colors. Pomades, they come in a variety of colors. They add shine, create tone, and some special color effects on the hair. The Elegance, what is it, men's, is it gel or is it pomade? I can't remember what it is. It's a fairly new product within like the last few years. They actually have come in colors too, so that kind of helps a little bit. Sprayon Colors, aerosols, real popular during Halloween. And then color enhancing shampoos and conditioners. These actually have a little bit of color in it to tone the hair. So just be careful with those, because a lot of people, like Shimmer Lights is one that people use a lot, and it does make the hair pretty dry. It's a purple shampoo to help cut out like the yellow, but they also make them in like red and gold and purple, and they make all the different colors. Just make sure that you're using those correctly. And if you're not sure, I would just do a small area on someone's head just to see, like a test area, just to see what's going to happen with those. So these types of colors, they do what they say they're going to do. Okay, so you can't expect them to do something that they're not made to do. Especially like the weekly rinses, well, any of it really, they're only made to do certain things, and that's it. So they're temporary. So that's what they're made to do. Don't try to use them for something that they're not. Okay, so they're fun. Any questions on temporary colors? Remember, non-oxidative is a category, or temporary is a category under non-oxidative colors. Okay. Then we have semi-permanent hair color. Okay, these will fade out gradually. What they do is they add tone, and they can deepen existing
Connie?
hair. Yes.
Oh, continue.
What?
You went blank.
Oh, no, I'm here. I promise. Okay, so semi-permanent hair colors, they could be known as color enhancers. They could be known as glossers. Some of the more popular names are like the cellophane, made by Sebastian cellophane, or the matrix prisms. Those are some of like the brand names. Clairol makes one called jazzing. What these do is They add tone or deepen color. They can refresh faded color. They can add shine. You can cover a very small percentage of gray, maybe 25%, or blend some of the gray. They have a longer lasting effect, again, when you apply them to the porous hair. These things are designed to last about 4 to 8 shampoos, depending on the type of shampoo you're using, the type of water you have, and the condition of your hair. Okay. What these do is they're all, again, all deposit, no lightening. They are supposed to fade gradually again with no line of demarcation. So when is a touch-up done? Never, because they're supposed to fade out. You don't need to do a touch-up. Now, again, if the hair is overly porous, you may see they may grow out. It may not completely fade out. You have large and small molecules. So the large molecules sit on the outside of the cuticle layer and coat that hair strand, where the smaller molecules will enter into the cortex. This is why it takes 6 to 8 shampoos to shampoo out. Okay, so again, these color molecules are mixed, so they contain large and small color molecules. Usually with these, they are applied to wet hair and they are put underneath the dryer for at least 30 minutes. So you have to really saturate them, just like you're doing, a color application, to make sure that it gets into all of the hair. A PD test or a predisposition test or a patch test, you have to check the manufacturer. Some manufacturers will say, yeah, you have to do it. Some manufacturers say no. So it's only required if an aniline derivative is used. Okay. So their molecule is larger and smaller. It has a dye molecule in a solution itself. It has a slightly alkaline pH. And let's see, what else does it say about it? Large molecules, small molecules. These are actually smaller than temporary hair colors. Again, smaller the molecule, the longer it's going to last. So yeah, that's about it on these. One of the good things about some of these types of colors are they're shiny. They're really shiny. I used to just actually do these in clear. I don't know why I haven't done that for a long time. I always say that and then I never do it. But a clear one, I would add some deep, this is what we used to do in the 90s, okay, late 80s, early 90s, is we would take a deep conditioning treatment, shampoo our hair, put it on. I was using K-Pack, the Intense Reconstructor, put it on my hair, take this clear, put it over the top of it, set it underneath the dryer for like my 30 minutes and rinse it out. My hair would feel super soft and it would be shiny. So that worked out really well, actually. But now the actual makeup, chemical makeup of these, like the molecules and things like that, are probably a little bit different than they were back then, because they just keep improving on the products. So I don't know for sure if that would work 100% or not. Another category in these non-oxidative colors are vegetable dyes, metallic dyes, and compound dyes. Okay, so this is the least common type of hair color. These things you will probably find on the drugstore shelves or in like health food stores. Vegetable dyes for sure you're going to find in like health food stores. Like when you hear the vegan dyes out there, these are going to be more of the vegetable dyes. Henna is probably one of the most popular vegetable dyes out there. Henna adds like a reddish color to the hair in the pure form. They have other ones that can actually make it look a little bit more gold. But again, henna is very hard to work with because it coats the hair, and trying to put other color on top of henna is not going to work. People who get henna tattoos, you may, I'm trying to remember what the sign says at the front desk, but if you have henna or you have henna tattoos, we're not going to do hair color on you, just due to the fact that it could cause a reaction because it is a vegetable dye and we do use the aniline derivative. Metallic dyes are just that. They have little, like, for lack of a better analogy. There's these little pieces of metal shards that when it penetrates into your cortex, it like attaches itself to your natural hair color molecule. And metallic is not considered a professional product. Metals do not mix with other chemicals, especially perm solution, or even perm solution, not even especially, you can add that with perm solution. When you put perm solution or other color on top of someone that has a metallic dye, it could cause discoloration in their hair or breakage. So yeah, it's advisable to cut that metallic dye off before you do that. Chamomile is found in shampoos and after shampoo rinses. It's relatively harmless to the hair. It's considered a vegetable dye. So again, it produces a yellow stain. So it can give some like golden look to the hair. So again, we have to, test that and be careful with that. Another thing about metallic dyes is they are known as progressive or gradual dyes because each time you use them, they turn darker over time. So these men products that are out there, be careful with those because they say like each time you use them, they get a little bit darker and a little bit darker. Well, yeah, because they're progressive dyes, which is going to be metallic. So be careful with that. Chlorine also, if you're using a henna or a metallic dye, you're swimming in a chlorine pool, that may give you some bad reaction too. So we have to be real careful with that. It can cast a green color, it can cast a purple color, or it can cast a red. So when you are using these types of colors and someone comes in with a, here's what it says about your metallic dyes. Silver in the dyes may appear to have a green cast. Lead in the dyes, a purple cast. And copper in the dyes, a red cast. So if you see someone that's been using these types of products and they get this like purple, I've seen a lot of purplish color or red color, know that those are the metals that are in it. Okay, compound dyes are a combination of both. They are a combination of vegetable and metallic kind of put together. The metallic salts are added to the vegetable dyes to create more colors and longer lasting effects. They tend to be unpredictable and are very incompatible with other color products. So if you want to test someone to see if they have metallic salts in their hair, there's our chamomile. Let's see, what else do we have? Compound dyes, metallic dyes. Oh, okay. So if you want to check someone to see if they have metallic dyes or to check for metallic salts, you can do what's known as a 120 test prior to performing the chemical service. So you mix 1 ounce of 20 volume peroxide or developer and 20 drops of ammonia in a glass bowl. Put about 20 strands of the hair and immerse it in the mixture for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, these are the possible results that you could have. The hair strands will lighten slightly. There's no metallic salts present. You can proceed with the service. If the hair lightens quickly, the hair contains lead. Do not do a chemical service. If there's no reaction after 30 minutes, the hair contains silver. Do not perform a chemical service. And if the solution begins to boil or gives off an unpleasant odor, if the hair degrades and pulls apart easily, the hair contains copper. Do not perform a chemical service. So what I've noticed is some people will buy a black hair color from, like off the shelves of a store, and they want to lighten it. Well, we put lightener on the hair, and after 30 minutes, it does not even, it's still the same color, silver in their hair. I've seen that a lot. I've also seen, I haven't seen the solution boil, but I have smelled like a weird smell to it, and I've seen the hair degrade and pull apart also. So again, we need to really check someone's hair. I have a feeling that a lot of people are doing their own home hair color, so that could be a little different. So when you're working with a non-oxidative color, think of this color like a stain. Okay, sometimes it can look very dull or dark when in the can, but they're actually quite transparent on the hair. So depending on the level that you're using, that will determine the brightness when applied over very light hair or the richness when applied over very dark hair. When applied over hair that is graying, you could get a very dimensional color depending on, how much gray the client has. So those are some of the things about these. Yeah, I always think of these non-oxidative colors like they'll just try it out. Okay, so non-oxidative colors create a physical change in the hair. That one's a true one. True or false? Temporary colors allow you to lift and deposit in one step. No, that's a false one. Temporary colors always require a predisposition test. That's a false one too. Temporary colors only coat the cuticle of the hair. Temporary colors contain large color molecules. Semi-permanent colors do not leave a line of demarcation. Compound dyes are a mixture of metallic and vegetable dyes. Oh, we missed the whole answer thing. Where did it go? Here we go. True, false, false. Oh, surface. Okay, surface of the hair, cuticle. There you go. Molecules, line of demarcation, metallic, and vegetable. Okay, you guys should go on your lab also and take the learning challenge. Okay, so those are our temporary colors. Like I said on Thursday, we're going to play with these a little bit. So let's go to oxidative colors, which is 110B15. So again, the oxidative colors, they have different types of colors that fall underneath that, just like in the non-oxidative, we have the semi-permanent and the temporary, but then under the temporary, right, we had mascaras and rinses and shampoos and things like that. And then under the semi-permanent, we had glossers and oh gosh, I totally went blank. We had glossers and we had, what else is it? Like the fashion colors, like the greens and the blues and the purples and all that. Those fall under the semi-permanent colors also. So under our oxidative colors, oxidative, okay, we have non-oxidative meaning no developers. So we have oxidative meaning developer. Okay, so in the whole chemistry aspect of this, we need it to oxidize when we're doing this. So, which means we just get like an extra oxygen molecule. So we have the oxidative color products. That's another reason during your application that it's really important that you don't smash it. Because again, if you smash that hair color together, that oxygen is not circulating the way it should on the hair. And it's going to make the hair color, it could make the hair color turn out uneven because it's not able to oxidize, right? So we want to make sure that we get the oxygen that we need.
Another way to get holidays?
Holidays are like holes where you don't, like the color isn't applied. Holidays are usually a little bit more with bleach than it is with color, but it can happen. But it's just where like the color is not applied or it just kind of like oxidizes off. So yeah, it could happen with color. I've just always associated that term more with bleach. I have no idea why they call those holidays either. I think it's a funny name for it. Okay, so under oxidative hair colors, we have long-lasting semi-permanent or demi-permanent hair colors. The long-lasting semi-permanent is like the technical term for it, but the industry has thrown out there and we've been calling it demi-permanent hair color for a long time. So just know that long-lasting, semi-permanent, and demi-permanent are the same thing. We have permanent colors, we have our developers, fillers, concentrators, intensifiers, and drabbers, and lighteners. That's all under our oxidative color products. That's what we have. So these types of products are going to allow you to deposit, which would be to darken. It can allow you to remove the unwanted tones, which are the same thing that the non-oxidative colors do, but these types of colors can also lighten. And that's one of the main differences between oxidative and non-oxidative colors is oxidative colors will lighten. It allows you to permanently change the client's hair color till it grows out or it gets cut off. That's the only way to get rid of it. Okay, so you can take your creativity and your income to a whole nother level with this. Okay. Let's see. So with our oxidative color, like I said, you can permanently change the client's hair color. You can lift and deposit in one process. You mix it with an oxidant or developer to create a chemical change with a long-lasting effect. Not designed to lift artificial pigment. So what this means is if someone has existing color on their hair, it's not going to take it out. It's not going to lift it out. So we have our two major classifications of oxidative colors. Oxidative without ammonia, which is semi-permanent or demi-permanent. There's a teeny tiny bit of ammonia in there though. And then oxidative with ammonia is permanent. Like I said, you can tone, darken, lighten all in one time, all in one actually. So when we start with these long-lasting semi-permanent / demi-permanent hair colors, see the guy in the picture and then that little diagram next to it? That is known as this right here. This is your hair. The center here is your medulla. The yellowish looking colors with the little black dots is your pigment. The lines through that, those are like your color cells. And then this white on the outside here, this is your cuticle layer. So what's happening with these long-lasting semi or demi-permanent hair colors, the molecules are smaller. Some sit on the outside, some penetrate into the cuticle layer, and some go all the way into the cortex. Okay, these are supposed to add color and add tone, but they will not lighten the hair. They can lighten the hair just a teeny tiny bit because it's an oxidative color. It is mixed with a developer. The developer that it's mixed with is not the standard developers that you mix with regular hair color. These will come with their own developer. Okay, so you can't use like a 10, 20, or 30 volume developer. It'll come with its own developer that goes with it, which is generally a very low level developer. So because it is a low volume developer, you can get just a slight lift, like half a tone or maybe even one tone, depending on what it is. But they do generally last 4 to 6 weeks. Very low of hydrogen peroxide. So it creates a chemical change. So it can create a line of demarcation. Okay, so these small molecules are going to penetrate in. They are designed to add tone and darken hair color. But like I said, they can kind of lift just a tiny, tiny bit though. And then we have permanent colors. Okay, now a lot of times when someone has a demi-permanent hair color, they use that with a permanent hair color. And the way that that's done is someone's coming in for a color touch-up, but the ends of their hair are faded. instead of putting this permanent color all the way through the whole hair over and over and over again, because you're getting like way too much chemical on the hair, which could cause damage. What's done a lot is the touch-up portion of the virgin hair is done with the permanent hair color. And then the demi-permanent is used to refreshen the ends of that hair color. Because it is a very low level, a pH is not as high as permanent hair color. So therefore you are getting less damage or less chemicals in the hair. So those are some of the things that really help with using permanent and demi-permanent together. Okay. Demi-permanent also, let me go back. Demi-permanent can also be used for the gray blending. So when we talk about gray blending, especially in men around the temple area, or even women around the temple area, this is a good product to use to blend that gray. Most manufacturers make a lot of their colors in a demi-permanent hair color and in a permanent hair color. So you can have, like a 5G in both. This is a good thing if someone has never colored their hair before. Use this type of a product if they want it to last a little bit longer, or if they're just barely starting to get gray, because like I said, again, it's not so much chemical on the person's hair. So these colors are not designed to lift or lighten artificial pigment bleach would, but it might do it just a little bit. Okay, so you can also use like a color remover or a solvent that can lighten or break down and remove these artificial pigments. So that's a whole nother category of something too. So when we get to these long-lasting semi-permanent colors, check with the manufacturer to see if they require a PD test. Depending on the aniline derivative that's in it, yeah, they pretty much could require one. So check with the manufacturer on the color line that you're using. I know like in the Wella, when we're looking on the color chart, if it comes in semi-permanent and it comes in demi-permanent, there's like a blue dot and a red dot next to it. If it comes in just a semi-permanent hair color, you're going to find a red dot. And if it comes in just the permanent hair color, you're going to find a blue dot. So a lot of manufacturers make the colors that go together, both in semi-permanent and demi-permanent and permanent hair color. So permanent hair color, also known as aniline derivative tints, they penetrate that cuticle and the cortex. They remain on the hair until they're removed by chemical means or until the hair grows out and it is cut off. So if you put another color over the top of it and you cover it up and you don't see it anymore, it's still there. It's still inside your hair there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's gone. Okay. You mix these with hydrogen peroxide developers. They can lighten and deposit all in one step, and you definitely have to have a PD test for this. The combination of the ammonia and the hydrogen peroxide allows the lifting and the lightening of the hair's own natural color. The stronger the hydrogen peroxide or the developer, the higher the lift. Or you can add tone and darken the existing hair color by using a lower volume. Okay, it can mimic natural shades without losing the shine, and it can be safely applied over hair that's been previously colored or hair that has been permed, only if the integrity of the hair is still there. So this is why PD tests are so important. If you look at this one, you see a lot of really small molecules on the hair itself that's sitting on the outside of the cuticle layer and penetrating all the way into the cortex layer, not just like slightly in, but all the way through the cortex layer itself. These types of colors are known as oxidative colors, which will soften and swell the hair strand. You hear that a lot. How does it work? It softens and swells. So what this means is that when you place this on, the chemicals are opening the cuticle layer. That's the softening portion of it. And as it's opening that cuticle layer, the hair is swelling so that the products can penetrate into that cortex layer. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're using the right developer. We want to make sure that the color that we've picked with the developer is the right one for our client. These are kind of high in the pH scale. They're very alkaline. They typically range from a 9.0 to a 10.5 on the pH scale. So they are a little bit higher in pH than the semi and demi-permanent hair colors. They come in 3 types. You have a liquid, which is thin, right? You have, generally that's applied with a applicator bottle. It may contain fewer conditioning agents and a higher ammonia. So it has very good penetrability into that cortex layer for someone who has like really resistant hair. Creams are generally mixed with the cream developer, and that's what you probably have been using here. They're applied with a bowl and a brush. They do have some conditioning and thickening agents, so they're a little bit easier to control than a liquid. And then it comes in a gel. So the consistency is somewhere between that of a liquid and a cream. They're a little bit more penetrating to the cream. They have fewer conditioning agents. And when I first used a gel hair color and I mixed it with a cream developer, I wasn't used to it. I mean, it works totally fine. You know, there was no problem to it, but I wasn't used to the consistency and it kind of looked like snot. I was like, oh, this is weird. It spread really easy though. It's the cream spreads the easiest. The liquid's kind of runny. And then the gel is sort of an in between. I think with the cream, sometimes we have a tendency to really put a lot on there because we want to see it creamy, where the gel just sort of like goes through the hair like you were applying gel to someone's hair. So they all work. Let's just say that. So it's just like going to be your preference, because the developers come in a liquid and the developers come in a cream. So, you know, do you want it thicker? Do you want it thinner? You know, how much spreading capability do you want? That's just something that you're going to have to, as you're doing color, that you're going to have to figure out what you like the best. I personally like cream developers better, but sometimes, like especially if I'm applying toner after a bleach, a liquid toner with a liquid developer in a bottle is an easier application. So it's just going to depend on if you like the bottle brush application or if you like, you know, which application you like there, a bowl and a brush or a bottle. Okay, so these dyes that are found in the hair color, they're, let's see, paraphenylenediamine or paratoluenediamine. Yeah, that one's a tough one. These are the dye intermediates that cause the aniline derivative, or that come from the aniline derivative, that cause people to have allergic reactions to a PD test or to a hair color. This is why PD tests are important, to make sure that we don't get these types of reactions, because yeah, you don't want someone to have a reaction to a hair color on your watch. Okay. And itching is a sign of an allergic reaction. So remember that. So most PD tests are 24 to 48 hours before the actual hair color itself. Okay, and I think we'll go over again just to make sure everyone knows how to do one of those. We'll do that on this week too. Check that within that 24 to 48 hours. Make sure that there is no signs of anything that's not normal. Discoloration, where you actually put the color on the person, is totally normal, but anything other than discoloration is not normal at all, like itching or a rash or burning or, you know, redness. That is an allergic reaction. Okay, I've seen people have allergic reactions to PD tests before. I've seen people have allergic reactions to hair color before. Believe me, it's not pretty, and you do not want to be the one responsible for that. So, you know, take your precautions. Developers themselves now, they're more on the acid side of our pH scale. It's a 2.5 to 4.5 that's used with permanent, demi-permanent, and permanent hair colors. Standard measurements are 10, 20, 30, and 40 volume, which 10 volume is a 3%, 20 volumes is 6%, 30 volumes is 9%, and 40 volume is a 12%. So the lower the volume, the less lift, the higher the volume, the more lift. So the most commonly used developer is hydrogen peroxide. They do have some enzymes out there that people use. So the way that these developers work is you get certain levels of lift. So if you're using a 10 volume, you get like 1 level of lift. If you're using a 20 volume, you get like 2 levels of lift. If you're using a 30 volume, you get like 3 levels of lift. And if you're using a 40 volume, you get like 4 levels of lift. So kind of give you an example of how this works. If we're using a permanent hair color, because the permanent will lighten and deposit in one step. So if I'm doing a 45-minute processing time and I'm using a 20 volume developer, I'm lifting that hair, so for 20 minutes, and I'm depositing for 25 minutes. And, you know, that's just sort of a rough little idea. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that just sort of gives you an idea of how that works. So if you're trying to cover gray hair, you don't want to use a 40 volume because it's not going to give you any coverage. It's going to give you more lift. So, you know, a 20 volume is pretty much the standard that's used for everything, pretty much. 20 and 30 volume are used a lot. 20 volume is a good one for gray hair because gray hair's cuticle seems to be a little bit more compacted and we need to have that cuticle open a little bit more. So like we said, the most common use is hydrogen peroxide. They do make peroxide in higher volumes. It used to be that you just got like 100% peroxide and you had to dilute it down the way you wanted to. So the thing that they used to dilute this down was called a hydrometer, and it would measure the strength of your hydrogen peroxide. It would tell you the potency of it. It would allow you to dilute the higher strengths to lower volumes, and it can help you determine if an old bottle is still potent. Usually these developers have a shelf life of 3 years. These 3 years are if it is stored in a, you know, temperature controlled, not in the light type of an environment, like a cool, dry place, right? So that's going to give you the 3-year shelf life. If you leave the lids off of these, it's really important that once you take the lid off and you pour out what you want, you put the lid back on it and you put it away. Leaving the lid off of it will cause it to weaken in strength. So the chemical symbol of hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, where we have water as H2O, right? So if we leave that lid off, eventually it will evaporate out and you'll be left with H2O. So I don't know how long it takes. I've actually never tried it, but I do know that sometimes the developers do weaken, especially if they're older, if the lid is left off. So it's real important that we want to keep the lid back on it. One of the other things about these developers is you're going to find every color line makes a developer in a 10, 20, 30, 40. Some of them might make like a 12, or some of them might make like a 23 that goes with their particular color line. So if I have a 20 volume in, you know, different brands, it's okay for you to mix them together. I mean, it's okay for me to use like a Wella developer and a matrix color. I mean, that's okay. But what the manufacturers do is in the bottles themselves, they put their fillers in there to help work with the color itself so that you get better results. So another way that this works also is like you get a 32-ounce bottle of developer and you have, you know, 12%. 12% of that bottle is hydrogen peroxide. The rest of it is filled with all the things that makes that developer work best with that particular color. So the same thing, like a 9% of that bottle is filled with, you know, developer. The rest of it is filled with the fillers that make it work with that particular color the best. And I'm sure it's way more complicated chemistry than that, but that gives you an idea of how that works. So if you run out of say I only had a 40 and I needed like a 20. If I had distilled water, I could mix that distilled water with that 40 and dilute it down to get the 20. That's where the hydrometer would come into play. If I just put straight tap water in and try to dilute that down, say I had an ounce, I put like half an ounce of tap water and half an ounce of 40 volume. I'm trying to get 20 volume. I don't know what you're going to get out of that because we don't know what's in the water itself. So we don't know if that water is going to be, you know, what the minerals are and stuff like that in it to dilute that down, unless we had a hydrometer to let us know. That's why distilled water is best to use, but you need a hydrometer for that. If I didn't have enough developer and I mixed a 10 and a 30 together, I'm not going to get 40. I'm going to get 20 because the lower volume will subtract from the higher volume. So if you do run out of some developer, that's a little trick of the trade that you can use is if you mix them together, just remember that they are going to subtract. And you may not get a straight 20, you might get like an 18 or a 22, depending on, you know, this how new that developer is and what the strength is that you put together with it. So, you know, just remember though, that if you do mix those together, they don't add and get higher, they subtract, because how is a weaker one added to a stronger one going to make that a higher developer? It's not, it's going to remove it and make it a lower developer. So remember that one when you're working with that. So let's see. Let's move on down. Okay, so we can kind of play with this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and stop here on these concentrators, fillers, and grabbers. We'll pick that up tomorrow while we go into lighteners. And we'll talk about color formulations. I'm going to have a little quiz, not a test, but I'm going to have a quiz for you. Dang, there's a lot in here. I'm going to have a quiz for you when you come in.
Oh, no. Do the test. Do the test.
No, because we haven't finished the book to have a test, but I'll quiz you up to this far.
Maybe they haven't, but I have.
Okay, well, you know what? You're going to take the quiz too, okay? Okay, thank you. And you're upside down. So we'll have just to see what you remember, so you'll see what you need to study up on, because this is a large chapter and there's a lot of money to be made in hair color. So any questions? No? All right. Yes. Did you have a question, Lugo?
Nah, I don't know.
Okay. I don't know either then. All right. So we'll go ahead and stop for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Okay. Okay. Bye. Have a good day.
Hasta luego.